Hello, my little wordlings. I hope you're doing great today. I thought today we would watch this video together from Storied, PBS channel, which I absolutely love. And I've tried to cherry pick what I want to react to because I just react to everything because all their videos are amazing. This one's called How Queer Communities Created Secret Languages. I hope we enjoy and we learn something together. In case this hasn't been said, this is a queer affirming space.
Is it possible to sound gay? We know many of the factors that shape our identities, from race to geography to disability, can impact the way we use language. So what about gender and sexuality? Lavender language refers to the speech practices of LGBTQ+ people, and the linguists who study it have chronicled a rich global history that has thrived in secrecy for decades. I'm Dr. Erica Brzozowski, and this is Other Words.
Why is it called something so beautiful? I want to steal it for something. Am I allowed to steal it? I don't think I'm allowed to steal it. Other Words. Did you guys notice the subtitle said quirky music? I gotta love YouTube sometimes.
In the 1990s, anthropologist William Leap wanted to study the way people of different LGBTQ+ identities speak, and chose lavender, a slang synonym for gay or queer, as an umbrella term. Leap wasn't the first to study lavender language. The term he used came from a dictionary of gay slang written in the 1940s. But his work defined a field of study that covers everything from how queer people use pronouns, to the wordplay of gossip and insults, to queer vernaculars, or argos, the complex and sometimes...
Okay, I learned a new word, argos, and also, at the very least, people who are insisting that LGBTQ people didn't exist until the last 10 years. There's a fucking dictionary in the 40s.
And secret vocabularies of LGBTQ+ communities. One of the most famous and well-documented gay argos is Polari, which was used by gay men in England until the late 1960s. It borrowed from all kinds of...
There's a YouTuber, her name is Jessica Kellgren-Fozzard, and she did a whole video about Polari, and I absolutely loved it.
Speaking groups on the fringes of society, like thieves, sailors, theater performers, and Romani people. Polari speakers would rhyme or reverse words, or borrow from other languages to create new slang. Some Polari words that we still use are naff, meaning tacky or unfashionable, or zhuzh, the verb for sprucing up your hair or outfit that's fun to say but impossible to spell. In the late 60s,
Yes, thank you. It is impossible to spell. That's why even anytime I've tried to spell it to find out what the spelling is on Google, they never knew what I meant. Wow, okay. I am a minute 48 in and I'm learning stuff. I love this video.
Polari started to show up in popular music and television shows. Sort of like how contemporary queer and trans ballroom slang has gotten popularized through shows like Drag Race. At the same time, Britain repealed part of its anti-homosexuality laws, making the secret code less necessary for safety. Polari started to fall out of regular use in the gay community, suffering a significant blow when many of the remaining Polari speakers died in the AIDS crisis of the 1980s. Still, lavender linguists continue to study and document Polari to preserve this important part of LGBTQ+ history. But for much of its history, Polari was somewhat of a secret code. When homosexuality was criminalized in the UK, slipping Polari phrases into everyday speech could help you identify who else around you was also gay, without being obvious to straight people. Polari also had slang names for police like Lily Law or Jennifer Justice, so that gay men could warn each other that police were around without them noticing. Some features...
Yeah, we need to stop using the term pig and start using Jennifer Justice.
...of Polari also live on in other lavender languages around the globe. Loxero, an argot based on Spanish spoken by trans people and sex workers in Peru, has a similar coded nature, reversing words and adding extra syllables like dosero and kuti. Ola becomes osorolasera, and mama becomes makuti. This feature, called cryptolalization, allows Loxero speakers to discuss taboo topics around listeners they may not know or trust. Gael, an argot that arose in apartheid South Africa among gay men of color, also borrows from Polari and mixes it with English and Afrikaans. Gael's main feature is using alliteration to substitute women's names for other common words. Just like Polari referred to police as Jennifer Justice, Gael speakers might talk about avoiding Betty Bangles or getting Dora at a Patsy instead of drinking at a party. Gael, like Polari, employs a common feature of lavender languages, sheing, or using feminine language for
Okay, I know the history behind this is very sad, and the reason they had to use it is very sad, but oh my god, is it delightful.
non-feminine subjects, just like how gay men in the US might refer to friends as girl, sister, or queen. Lavender languages have a long tradition of playfulness with gender to challenge our ideas about language and power. Using feminine language reverses the cultural hierarchies that put masculine people at the top of the social order and feminine, queer, and trans people at the bottom. According to lavender linguist Paul Baker, sheing is inverting mainstream society's values so that everybody's potentially gay and everybody's potentially feminine. That's also how speakers of Storied speak, also called simply gay lingo in the Philippines, describe their use of language. The mix of Tagalog, Spanish, English, and some Japanese that began in the 1970s is known as a mode of social resistance for the way that it allows speakers to play with gendered language rules of the languages they speak. Like the other argots we discussed, Storied speak is used to immediately identify other speakers as queer, and it can also be pretty useful for gossiping or talking behind people's backs in a way that not everybody can understand. But speakers say it's no longer as secret as it used to be. In fact, in circles that contain a lot of LGBTQ+ people like the fashion, beauty, and entertainment industries, Storied speak has spread to women and even some straight men. Storied speak is not just a multilingual mashup, it's also filled with celebrity references. You might call an inexpensive
It may feel like it was co-opted if it has reached the straight community, but my argument would be I bet you the first straight men to learn it were men who didn't fit the gender norm of masculinity and they needed a way to hide too. So they might be cis and straight, but are still not, you know, typical and would still have issues in their community. So the language brings them closer to people who already don't identify with the mainstream community and they give them something to bring them together. That's what I'm hoping anyway.
outfit, Mariah Carey, because Mariah sounds like Mura, the Tagalog word for cheap. And Julanis Morissette means to rain from the Tagalog word for rain, ulan, and the iconic line from the song Ironic. Using Storied speak requires a lot of complex cultural knowledge.
Jalanis Morissette? Oh my god, I just want to put all these like on stickers around my room. These are amazing.
There are borrowed words from half a dozen languages and deep pop culture cuts that can take speakers years of engaging with the gay community to be able to fully understand. This helps solidify the in-group identities of speakers through the act of creating language together. Some Storied speak users say that gay lingo is like verbal jazz, where speakers are constantly riffing and innovating off of each other to keep this lavender language evolving. These are by no means the only lavender languages that exist. As the field grows, researchers from all over the world gather each year to talk about new developments in LGBTQ+ language use. And there's so much more to learn. Many of the examples we discussed today are lavender languages used by cisgender gay men, because they're some of the most researched queer argos. Still, trans and gender nonconforming people are also innovating language practices, like repopularizing the use of the singular they, or introducing themselves with pronouns when meeting new people. While there's so much more to
Sometimes it's not good to mix the personal and political, and this is a very literary channel, but I am always going to be political when it comes to people's rights, and I want to commend this channel for the fact that they very clearly said repopularizing the singular use of they. It was used before as singular, and then at some point in time it just kind of dropped off because, and I remember this at the PC thing to do, and I put PC in quotation marks because PC is just usually the right thing to do, but it was to always say he her or him her, she he, you know what I mean. that was the way to be inclusive. And I think that's where the singular they dropped off, because we were so emphasizing inclusivity for the gender binary that it started to exclude. Now we realize the error. So we're going back to inclusive and using they for singular, whether it's the way the person identifies or the word we're using until we find out how they identify, is great. And we're just using something that we've used before. Easy enough. I will admit, though, I'm having a difficult time incorporating a non binary character into my writing. For clarity's sake, when I'm using the word they, I read it as everyone else in the room, or that I'm speaking about both characters, unless I'm doing a very focused point of view from the main character. So that's something I have to work on.
Study, Lavender Linguistics reminds us that celebrating our own identities is a doorway into a freer and more expansive expression of ourselves, and that there is no more direct means of expression than language.
We're just going to give that a little likey poo. Well, I thought that was amazing. I loved the information that they presented. I loved that I learned something new. And I hope you did too. And I hope you realize that you're never too old or full of yourself to learn something new. I hope you have an even brain day, and I will see you all next time. Bye.